I was on all fours, my breath heavy and damp against the leather couch in our dark living room. My nightgown was rolled up above my waist, my hair stuck to my neck with sweat, and my fingers clutched the edge of the cushion as I moved in a slow rhythm. The rain outside was soft, tapping gently against the windows, while inside me was a heat I had not felt in years. The front door, slightly ajar, let in a cool midnight breeze that kissed my back and sent shivers down my spine. I should have closed it. I should have locked it, but I was too far gone, too deep in the thrill of secrecy, too hungry to feel desert again. When I finally stopped and turned me head toward the doorway, there he stood. Frank, my husband's father, silent, motionless, his eyes locked directly on Tommy, not my face, not the floor, but me, my wet cat, exposed, glistening, throbbing, and trembling. He did not speak, he did not blink, he just watched, and that moment ruined everything. To my amazing audience, thank you so much for being here too, all me subscribers. Your loyalty means the world to me. To the new and returning viewers who have not yet subscribed, thank you as well. I truly cannot wait for you to hit that subscribe button. It serves as the fuel and energy that powers this channel and keeps me telling stories just like this one. Do not forget to drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. Let me start from the beginning. Maybe if I do, you will understand how I let myself get this far. My name is Claire. I am 32 and I have been married to David for 8 years. When I first got married, everything felt new and exciting. The kisses were frequent, touches were real. The sex was good, really good, but over the years that fire died down. David became more focused on work, more distant, more absent. He started traveling for business so often that it almost felt like I lived alone. He would come back with gifts and a tired smile, but not with love, not with passion, not with attention. It had been for months since he last touched me, and by touched I do not mean brushing his hands on my hips as he passed in the hallway. I mean really touched me, the kind of touch that makes your body forget time. So I touched myself. I touched myself often, but it was not enough, and then something in me changed. That night, Saturday, I had just taken a long hot bath. My skin was damp and smelled of lavender and coconut oil. I wore a silk nightgown, thin and short, the kind that David never noticed anymore. I walked through the house feeling dangerous. I do not know what came over me, but I spread a soft towel across the living room couch, turned off all the lights except for the dim lamp in the corner, and got on my knees. My fingers moved to places that craved to be seen, to be tasted. The front door had not closed properly earlier. I remembered hearing it click, but not lock bet. The thought left my mind as my fingers sank in deeper, and I pressed my face to the armrest, muffling my moans with the cushion. Minutes passed, may more. I was so lost in my own rhythm that I did not hear the footsteps, not at first, but something made me pause. A keel, a shadow, a presence, and there who was Frank. He had come over unexpectedly, had told me earlier that his father might swing by to drop off some tools. I had forgotten everything in that moment. He did not say a word, I remember. I gasped, my hand flying down to cover myself, my knee slipping on the leather. I tried to pull me nightgown down, but the damage was done. He had seen everything. I stared at them, frozen my legs, shook my heart, pounded like a hammer in my chest, then her turned and walked away, quiet like a ghost. I sat on the floor for several minutes after that, shivering in thessalence, trying to figure out if I had imagined him. But I had not. The faint click of the door closing confirmed I'd had left, but not without carrying something with him, a memory, a vision, a truth he was never meant to know. E crawled into the bathroom, locked the door, and sat under the shower until the water ran cold. My mind raced, my body still pulsed. The shame was loud, but even louder than the shame was a nothing else excitement. I did not know it then, but something had shifted between Frank and I that night. He had seen me in my most vulnerable, naked moment. He had watched, and a part of me, God help me, liked that I did not sleep that night, and the next morning everything In the house felt different. I avoided coming out of the bedroom that Sunday morning until I heard the front door shut. I peeked through the blind sand, saw Frank backing out of our drive in his old gray truck. He had been inside. Probably just to pick up his tools or pretend like the night before never happened. I was sure he would not say anything to David. What could? Possibly say that he saw his daughter-in-law, bent over soaked, pleasuring herself like a woman possessed. While the front door stood wide open. No, he would bury it. I thought would bury it, but what? I did not realize then was that a door once open a Davin, by accident, never truly close again. Later that day, I cleaned the living room like it was holy ground of a re-inch of. That couch felt cursed. I sprayed it down, wiped it twice, and drained the pillows like I was trying to erase my scent from the air. David came home from his business trip around 8 p.m. That evening, he kissed my forehead. That was all my forehead, not my lips, not my neck, not even a look of desire in his eyes. He talked of boot meetings, airports, and a terrible sandwich he had at some hotel. I nodded, cooked him dinner, and smiled, like everything was normal, but inside everything was burning. We went to bed that night without touching. He snored softly beside me, dead to the world, while I lay wide awake, staring at the ceiling. Next morning was when I saw Frank again. I was in the kitchen making coffee. I wore a soft black robe, tied loosely around my waist. My legs were bare. I leaned against the counter, yawning, thinking about nothing and everything at tones. Then I felt it, that pull, that invisible thread. I turned slowly. Frank stood at the sliding back door watching. Again his eyes locked on mine. No words, no movement, just that same heavy stare. But this time it did not feel like shock or confusion. It felt calculated, curious, intrigued. I opened the door slowly. "David's not home," I said, trying to keep my voice even. "I know," Frank replied. He walked in calm, dressed in his usual work jeans and a white t-shirt clung to his shoulders. He smelled like aftershave and fresh wood. His eyes dropped for a moment to the gap where my robe opened just slightly over my thigh. Then back up. He leaned against the counter across from me. Did not mean to startle. "You last night," he said quietly. I swallowed hard. "I thought you left." I did. After the air between us thickened, I could feel the heat rise between my legs again, and I hated it. I hated how quickly my body betrayed me. "You should have knocked," I whispered. "You should have locked the door." He whispered back. His voice was like smoke, smooth, dangerous, addictive. "I should have left the room. I should have slammed the door. I should have screamed." But I stood there, frozen, not in fear, but in something far more, a dangerous desire. He stepped forwardly. My heart pounded in my ears, every inch. He moved closer, made my breath catch his eyes. Oh, God. Those eyes, they didn't look like a father-in-law's. They looked like a man who had already tasted the tasting image of me and now wanted more. He reached up and tucked a strand of hair behind more. His fingers brushed my cheek. I closed my eyes. Then I heard David's voice from upstairs. "He, her, you seen my charger?" I jumped away from Frank like I had been slapped. My hands went straight to tightening my robe. Frank took a deep breath, ran his fingers through his graying hair, and stepped back toward the door. I was just picking up my wrench. He said loudly, "You left it on the porch. Remember, right?" I answered quickly. He nodded and walked out, quiet as ever. But something was broken now between us, or maybe not broken, maybe opened. Just like that damn door that evening while David was in Thijo. I got a text. It was from an unknown number. I opened it. Next time, do not stop. No name, no emojis. Just that one sentence. I stared at the screen for a long time, my hand shaking. Slightly, I should have deleted it. I should have blocked the number, but I did. Not insta. I reread it twice. I typed back, "Ushold not be texting me." A minute later, he replied, "But you wanted me to touch?" I put the phone down and walked to the bathroom. I watched David scrub his hair, humming some song from the Nines, like everything was perfectly normal, like our marriage was untouched, like his wife had not been wet and exposed to his father. Less than 48 hours ago, I sat on the toilet lid and watched him. I tried to picture the man I used to love, the man I used to desire, but I could Not that night. I did not touch David. I turned my back to him in bed and stared at the ceiling again by Thursday. Frank had come by 3 more times, once to drop off tools, once to return a casserole dish, once to check the wiring. Each time, he found a reason to touch my hand or my back or lean in a little too close, and I let him, not because I wanted to be unfaithful, but because for the first time in years, I felt seen. When a desert, his eyes told no lies. They told him exactly what he thought of me. Exactly what he planned to do, and worse, they told me what I secretly wanted to Franken. I crossed the line the day he touched me thigh. It was Saturday. David had gone golfing with his friends and was not due back until evening. I was in the living room folding laundry when Frank let himself in through the back door again. At this point, I had stopped locking it. I did not even ask why he was there. He walked straight over, picked up a pair of David's socks from the basket, and looked him dead in the eye. "You know this is going to ruin everything," he said in awed. Even though my throat was too tight to answer, he sat down beside me on the couch, close enough that our legs touched. My pulse raced. I could not focus. I could not breathe properly. I tried to look away, but he reached over and brushed his fingers along the inside off me knee. "You are trembling," he said. I hated it, and I loved it. "I should not want this," I whispered. "But you do." I felt my body respond before my mind could catch up. My legs shifted, my breath itched. The heat between us thickened until it was unbearable. He leaned in slowly, not touching my lips, but letting tension stretch until I leaned in. Rest of the way, our mouths met softly at first, curious, cautious, but it did not stay gentle. The kiss deepened fast. Hungry and breathless, his hand moved up my thigh and under my robe. I did not stop him. I opened to him like, I'd been waiting years. He whispered my name into my neck as I arched into him. It was not love. It was not romance. It was release. All the loneliness, the neglect, the quiet rejection I had felt from David poured out in that Frank lifted me onto his lap. I straddled him with trembling thighs, my robe slipping open. He kissed my chest, my stomach, my thighs. His hands knew where to go, how to make me forget that who was David's father, that I was his daughter-in-law, that I was a wife when entered me. I gasped, not from pain, but from how right it felt in that moment. We moved together in desperate silence, the sound of skin on skin and breath on breath filling the room. The cush creaked beneath us, a traitor soundtrack to our betrayal. We finished together, my head against his shoulder, my legs wrapped around his waist. For a while, we sat in silence. Then he whispered something that twisted that knife deeper. "I would have married a woman like you." I pulled away. "Do not say that," I said quickly, but it was too late. The words hung between us like smoke. By the time David returned home that evening, I had cleaned everything. I had showered twice. I had washed the couch cushions. I even made his favorite dinner, but something about me was different and could sense it. He kept looking at Malik. He was trying to read something written on my face. Later that night, after we watched a movie and went to bed, reached for me. It was the first time mine Weeks's hand slid down my side under the sheets, and I froze. My body went cold, not because I did not love David, but because I could still feel Frank on me inside me. I turned away gently. "I am tired," I whispered. He did no targ. He just pulled his hand back and turned away too. That was when the guilt began to crawl in. Not just guilt, paranoia. Every time David's phone rang, it was Frank. I wondered if he would slip, if he would tell, if he would threaten me, or worse, ask for more. But Frank did not speak of it again. Instead, texted me late at night, "Random things am thinking about you still hard. You taste like trouble." I tried to ignore him. I really did, but a part of me felt addicted to being wanted, tobing, desire to being seen. It was no tune till 2 weeks later that everything started falling apart. David came home early from work. I was not expecting him. He was in the backyard in nothing but Athen white tank top and underwear, watering the garden. Frank had just walked into the yard through the side gate. David saw us from the kitchen window. Frank was standing a little too close. I was bent a little too far. I did not know until I heard the door slam. David stood there, eyes wide. Face a Polly, Claire, he said, what the hell is Thesey? Drop the hose, water sprayed wildly across the grass. It is not what it looks like. I said quickly. He, covering myself, Frank stood, frozen eyes darting between us. David looked at him, at his father, and zoned thing. Inside him cracked you, Sonofa, he whispered. I thought he was going to punch him, but he did not. Hew up back inside and slammed the door behind him. I ran in after him, heart pounding, throat dry. David, please, I cried. It was a mistake. He turned around, his eyes full of rage and disbelief. How long? He asked. I could not answer. He stepped back, disgusted. You slept with my father in my house. While I was away, I reached for him, but he pulled back like my touch burned. That night has slept on the couch. The next night he did not come home at all. The day after Tha filed for divorce, Frank never reached out. Again, it was like once the secrets was out, it lost all its flavor for him. Or maybe he realized what he had destroyed. Moments later, I sit in an empty house staring at the door that started it all. Door I forgot to close, and I ask myself every night if I had locked it, would any of this have happened? Or waste door never really the problem, maybe was already open, already broken, already looking for something I had lost long ago, and Frank, he just happened to it through it.